Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Coffee and KO show. And it is another week in MMA. It sucks. We got to move on from something that was so magnificent on Saturday so quickly. But man, what a card, what a weekend. And hopefully we can ride this momentum going forward. But anyway, the Stooges are back. And
the Stooges are back.
They're back. Yeah, Stooges are back. I got to change my thing here. It still says at Coffee and KOs. It is not that. It is at the MMA Stooges. I should probably fix that. But yeah, you can check us out. MMA Stooges, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere that you listen to a podcast. We're there as well at the MMA Stooges. But anyway, Steve, welcome back, man. It's good to have you back.
Absolutely. Yeah, just a few things. So I think this is my first show with the new MMA Stooges brand, the rebrand that we just did. So that's exciting. But also kind of a little TBT. We got the little throwback to just me, Zach, and Carrie. So a little bit of the OG work here, the OG crew.
What were you going to say, Carrie? Go ahead. Oh, yeah, man. This is crazy. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, we started this thing. We're going close to a year now. We're getting closer. We're at it like 9 months, 8 months. So we're getting closer and closer to a year, and it's been a good year. At our 1 year anniversary, we'll have to do like maybe a video of just everything that's happened. We could see the progression from the beginning to the end because we were just talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, our interviews in the beginning, the whole layout was so shitty, and now here we are with, you know, our layouts are solid now.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, we've definitely come a long, long way. We've done like plenty of interviews with like awesome fighters. I think we're actually almost at episode number 100.
Yeah,
so I think we'll hit that first before we hit the 1 year mark, which is in July, I think. We'll have to get the official date on that too. I don't remember exactly when it was. I think it was July though, right?
It's like right when I could just look at, because Twitter tells you when your Twitter page was created, and it was that week that we did the show, because I remember recapping Usman Masvidal, actually.
Oh, there you
funny
go.
enough. So funny how that all works. But I want to get your thoughts, because obviously the recap shows you weren't there. You were away on the weekend. Did you get a chance to watch the card yet?
No, so I was actually going
wow.
to kind of open up with that too, because I listened. So I watched all of like the highlights that I can. The UFC does a tremendous job of not allowing you to see a lot of highlights. So
yeah.
I saw what I could to get like the big ticket items off my list, and I was able to listen to the recap show. So I feel like I got a good feel for what went down, and it sucks that I couldn't watch it because it sounded like it was phenomenal.
You missed, and we all said it. It's one of the greatest cards of all time in UFC history. Just the fact alone that it's the first show with fans after a pandemic for over a year, was that in itself was monumental. Like the fans, I kid you not, I'm sitting on Carrie's couch, you know, they're cooking, so I'm literally the only one watching as it starts, and I'm sitting on his couch, and it felt like you were octagon side. Like you could feel the energy from the crowd from the first fight. I had never even heard of these females ever. Like first time of ever hearing them. And when they walked out, you thought that they were fighting for a belt. Like you thought it was Rose and Weili or Shevchenko, Andrade. Like that's the feel that you got from that crowd. It was just amazing. And anyone that had the chance to be there, you know, I was talking to Aaron, like anyone that had the chance to be there, just incredible. Like that is a card that will go down in history. It'll go down as one of the greatest cards ever. But again, the implications of it being right after COVID, I guess we're still in COVID, but we're getting over that hump of COVID. It's just absolutely crazy. Like it was just such a good card, and it had everything. There was only 2 decisions on the whole entire card, which is crazy. And it had everything. You had a one-arm rear naked choke in Randy Brown. You had the broken leg. You had the Sean O'Malley nerve injury. You had knockouts. You had wars with Jeff Molina. I mean, there was just everything. It was just, I couldn't get over it. You ever get, like when like Adesanya fights and you get like just amped up.
Oh yeah.
Like it was that feeling, like almost like after the show, you can't sleep because you're just like, this is just crazy. But it also rendered you almost speechless when we did the recap, because it's like, there's so much to talk about. You don't know where to start. And it was just incredible.
I'm happy. I'm just happy for you guys and for the MMA community, because how many times do we talk about a pay-per-view event that you have to pay big money to see, and it sucks, and you're just
Kieran
like,
bought it twice.
I heard that. Yeah, that was hilarious.
And he still said it was worth the money. That's how good it was, dude. Like, and I would agree. Like,
man.
I'm as cheap as it comes, and if I ended up spending $150 on that, I still would have been like, man, like it was worth it. That's how good of a card it was. And it ended the time. There was 10-15 minutes between the prelims and the main card, which was awesome. Like the prelims ended at 9:50, and then the pay-per-view ended at like midnight, 12:30. Like it was so
it was all
fast.
Round 1, round 2 finishes, that's like what you want to see. Like you want to see all that. You don't want the boring 5-rounders that get dragged out. You saw all the submissions, you saw all the knockouts. There's just a little bit of everything, and I'm just jealous that I get to see it. And it's just not the same when you rewatch it like afterwards. It's just absolutely not.
Dude, I would rewatch it then. I would rewatch it though. Like that's like almost rewatching my favorite movie. Like I could rewatch that card easily every single fight and enjoy it. And it's funny. I actually said this to a guy that I work with. He doesn't really watch UFC too much, but he watched it this weekend. And he's like, I know why you love watching it now. He's like, it is so exciting. It's one of those sports you never know what's going to happen. And that's awesome to hear because that was a card that just grew so many new fans. I mean, it just brought in so many new fans because it was that big. People were probably watching just to see how many people were there because they knew that the UFC is the first to go full house, like first place to go full house and not care. Like people were probably watching just for that. So I just feel like it grew so many more fans, and UFC is a fast growing sport, man. And the fact that boxing has Jake Paul as the face of their sport is also helping the UFC. So I just think the UFC is just gonna, I think in the next year or two is gonna actually really just take off. And this card was, I think, monumental in doing that. It was just so amazing.
And I think we have to give a lot of credit to Dana White as well, because he has been on the forefront every single time there's been like an inch of opportunity within COVID. He just grabs it and absolutely runs with it. He's the first to do like the main events, like in general, just to like have events going on during the pandemic, kind of like invented the little bubble system there, and it worked out great. And they were able to do it every single weekend. And then you get into now we're getting back to the new normal, and like there's some places that are allowing it. And he's like, we're going. The first minute we are going. We'll be the first ones there. So big shout out to Dana White for making that possible.
Yeah, and I'm all in on that. You know, like, listen, I understand the pandemic was bad, but at some point in time, you got to just say, screw it. It's time to go back to normal. Like, eventually things got to go back to normal. And there's going to be people out there that hate to hear it. But the only way to get past certain things, you just got to move on. You know, it's at the point now. It's been over a year. You got to just move on. I love the move by Dana White. I think, you know, if fans are that scared, don't go. It's that easy. You have the choice whether to
forcing
go or
you to
not
go to the event.
Yeah. No, it's not like, man, I plan on going to the event and now I can't. No, like you don't just, you knew this is what it was going to be. So, you know, it's not hurting anyone. It's the people that want to go are going to go. And, you know, I just think it's time. I think he's putting, you know, the right foot forward. And at this point, move forward. And it's time to have, you know, everything back. And I'm just super pumped for all like the pay-per-view on 262. Texas has a lot to live up to, but I think that they're going to be all game for it. And I think it's going to be another crazy one. I'm just super pumped for all these pay-per-views now moving forward. I think are going to be electric.
Yep. No, I agree. And, you know, I have like a lot of, you know, headlines. There's like the Monday matchmaking we can do. There's rate that matchup. I don't know if we want to like kind of stick with the UFC 261. Like there's obviously headlines kind of coming off of that, or if we want to just kind of get into everything.
I mean, we got a lot of time, so I mean, we can talk about everything if you want. But there was one thing I did want to talk about, and that was, did you see Jake Paul's comments about Dana White and the fighter pay? Because so Jake Paul is actually a guy that has, you know, been royally shit on, and I am all for it because I don't like Jake Paul. But I have to say, he came out with a statement, and I think, and a lot of fighters actually responded to it as well and are backing Jake Paul on this. And I want to try to bring it up here so I can read it. I'll read it word for word. I'm a terrible reader, but I'll do my best. And it's basically in a roundabout way him criticizing Dana White because Dana White basically in the post-fight press conference just shit all over Jake Paul and said how he's not interested in doing business with him and everything else. But at the end of the day, Jake Paul's like, there's an issue here. Like in my third professional fight, in his third professional fight, he made more money than anybody in UFC history outside of Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov. That's it. Like that is insane. Would you be able to find that, Jake? Oh, I guess you need the keyboard. Jake Paul comment on Dana White.
I will say, just, that's obviously been in the news for a while now. Like, it's really not shocking to anyone that MMA, UFC, they don't get paid a lot. And especially when you compare boxing and all these mega fights that are out there. So I don't know what he said specifically, and you'll probably, read it or show it on the screen here, but he's definitely not reinventing the wheel with that take. I'll say that.
Oh yeah. I should be able to find it here. Right here. So in my third fight, this is a quote from Jake Paul. In my third fight, I made more in total pay than any fighter in UFC history. Maybe it's time to pay your fighters their fair share. No wonder they all want to get into boxing. Dana, you say you make fights the fans want to see, so hurry up and make John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Pay them their fair share, 10 million purse for each guy plus pay-per-views. Why are you UFC fighters so underpaid versus boxers? Why did I make more money in my third fight than all but two, Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor, UFC fighters in history? And then he put, I know why, ... I don't know what he meant by that, but he's not wrong. He is not wrong.
Definitely
and we've talked about it so many times that UFC fighters are severely overpaid, especially for how fast this sport is growing. But that might have been the smartest thing Jake Paul has ever said when it comes to the MMA community.
No, yeah, it's 100% true. And that's a fair shot for him to take. And it's 100% true why all of these UFC fighters are like, hey, I'm the next guy. Like, I'll fight Jake Paul. I'll get paid as much as I'll ever make in this sport in just one fight, let alone doing like 10 fights in the UFC and getting paid. Some of these guys make what, like 40,000 a fight, 50,000 a fight? That's garbage. It's absolute garbage. So he has a point. I just don't want to give any credit to Jake Paul.
I don't either, but at this point, like that, I love the comment. And that's the one thing with Dana White. The fighter pay is bad. $10 million is not outlandish for Francis
for John Jones. I mean, come on. You got to pay some of these guys. If you want to tier it like that, you can, but they deserve it 100%.
Yeah, so I'm all in on that. And, I think, maybe a comment like that, I think it needs eventually. Dana White is going to, I'm not going to say he's going to lose money, but there are going to be fighters that are going to be doing this whole Jake Paul shit for a while because, fighters should not be reliant on a 50K bonus because that's more than they make in a fight. Like I love the 50K bonus. I don't want it to go anywhere, but like there are guys that literally rely on that because it's more than they're going to make for the fight. So
it changes their lives, dude. That 50K changed, like Kevin Kroom, that literally changed his life, that one bonus, but he could have very easily have not gotten that.
Yeah. So I'm all in on it and, hate Jake Paul, but hats off to him. I love the comment and I love the call out. And at this point, he's the hottest topic in combat sports, which is freaking crazy to say, but he is the hot topic. And, for him to come out with that comment at this time when he is the buzz, I respect it. I hope that eventually the fighters get paid more than they do because it is sad. And, I try to explain to people that are new to watching the sport, like, these guys are literally beating the piss out of one another and they're making less money than I make in a year. And it's just, and they work 1,000 times harder than I do.
They are literally training every single day, all year round. There is no off season.
Maybe you get a week,
2 times a day, probably just all day. It's like 12 hours of just nonstop. Cause if you're not training, you're still doing other things. It never ends. And it's just insane. So these guys are grinding it out, not getting paid for it. Jake Paul 100% has a point, but we just need to see more pressure applied to Dana from the bigger stars. Because if they can all kind of get together and threaten something, I feel like that's the only way change is really going to be made because it's not going to be the bottom barrel guys who Dana's like, I can replace you in 2 seconds. It's Israel Adesanya, it's Khabib, it's Conor, it's all those guys who bring in tens of millions of dollars.
You can only wait so long until guys okay, John Jones is the first guy that's refusing to fight until he gets paid. But that'll trickle down. That will trickle down to the point where Dana's hands are going to be tied because you can't afford to lose John Jones. I don't care what he says. You still can't afford to lose John Jones. But you definitely can't afford to lose John Jones, Izzy, those guys. Like that is the promotion. So eventually the pressure is going to be going to be placed on Dana, and I hope it's sooner rather than later, because we need John Jones, Francis Ngannou. That fight needs to happen 100%.
It will eventually. It has to. The cards are just being dealt right now, and it's going to happen at some point. I'm very confident.
All right. Yeah, I agree. And like Kieran said on the recap show, UFC Africa, man.
Oh, electric.
That would be just, I would pay over $100 for that card.
And they talked about it, right? I think they brought it up to Usman in his post press conference, and he was saying that it's definitely in the works. They just have to really maybe find the location, maybe like the safety issues. I'm not really sure, but if that happens and they get all three, like Francis Ngannou, Izzy, and Usman on that, oh my God.
Yeah.
Best event ever.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, so let's get into what you got. That was just kind of the one thing I wanted to bring up because I saw it today and I thought it was pretty impactful. So also update on Chris Weidman. He is doing better, which, listen, I know I talked a lot of shit about Chris Weidman, but at the end of the day, that he's a good guy. Okay, he is a good guy. So I don't want to see anyone get hurt, especially in that fashion. So shout out to him. He is doing better. And 8 weeks, he should be walking. He said 6 to 8 weeks, he should be walking. And then he can't start training again until like 6 to 12 months. So it'll be a long while till we see Chris Weidman. But, hopefully all the healing goes well. And we do see him back, because even though I talk shit, he's still a UFC fighter. And I got to give him more credit after Amari Akhmedov's last performance. A win over him is still very good. So, do I think Chris Weidman's title contention? Absolutely not. But obviously the UFC still sees something in him to keep giving him fights. So it's got to be warranted, especially with all the cuts that are happening. So, hopefully he heals up, he gets to be back. And hopefully we see Uriah Hall soon, because goddamn, the dude didn't do anything. So
I was just going to say too, like with the whole Chris Weidman thing, and obviously we've been very vocal on the show about how Uriah Hall was going to knock him out. From our point of view, that was hilarious that it ended that way. I'm just going to say from our point of view, not in general, because we never want to see someone get hurt like that, but that's insane that happened. And we've been talking all that shit for a while. I said
on the recap, I'm like, man, like this is going to sound really bad and don't take it this way, but I had not laughed that hard in so long, because in the group chat, I get a text from Kieran. Do you feel better now, Zach? And I'm like, oh no.
You're like, I don't, but at the same time, like
I did win money too.
Victory, so
I won money because I put money on the TKO, and money is money, so I was happy, but what a bad way to make money. Like, I did feel guilty about it. So, yeah, but shout out to Chris Weidman. He'll heal up. He'll be back. He works hard, so he'll be back. So
yeah, I'm not worried about that.
But let's get into what you got, Steve.
All right. Well, let's stay with a little bit of the UFC 261. So I was actually just on ESPN, and it caught my eye in the top right corner. It was a video. It was Stephen A. Smith. And he was saying that he was not convinced that Kamaru Usman is the number one pound for pound fighter. I had to click on it. And I got to be honest, I will say that John Jones he will forever be the number one pound for pound fighter until he retires or loses, whichever one happens first, just out of respect for never losing until he loses or retires. I think he has to be the number one.
The only reason, so first off, who gives a shit what Stephen A has to say? He literally called Hammer Fist chops.
I was pissed that I clicked.
Did you see that?
I was. No, I didn't see that. But
he said, shout out to Masvidal for getting knocked down, but he didn't get knocked out to the fourth chop. He fucking met Hammer Fist. Oh my God,
dude. What is this? Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That is just embarrassing in itself. But no, for me, yes, John Jones, greatest of all time. Pound for pound, best in the world. But with the inactivity, I would say there should be two separate rankings. I feel like in a way, like in my mind, like right now, Kamaru Usman, based on activity, is the pound for pound greatest fighter in the world right now. In the world. But if you're talking guys that aren't retired, so I don't know, Khabib's got to be officially retired at this point, but like John Jones would be on there. If Khabib's not officially retired, like he would be on there. But I just feel like if you're talking activity standpoint, Kamaru Usman, 2 fights already this year, could probably easily fight again before the end of the year. I mean, he's literally aside from the little bit he got rocked against Burns, has taken no damage. And I mean, he's looked great. I mean, I said this on the recap as well. He is getting better as a champion, and that is scary because we normally see guys regress. Like we saw John Jones not regress, but they almost get bored, and I feel like they don't take things as serious. So the fights get closer. His fights are getting more one-sided.
That's like, exactly what I was going to say too. It's like, look at the last few fights John Jones is in. Debatably lost 2 against Dom Reyes and Thiago Santos. Debatably lost both of those. And then you talk about Kamaru Usman going out and just finishing the elite killers in their primes right now.
I love Colby Covington, but I don't think Colby Covington stands a chance right now. I think the only 2 guys that possibly, and I still don't think they stand a chance because now Usman's power, and they're not going to obviously out-wrestle him, is Leon and Wonder Boy. That's it. Those are the only 2. And I think Wonder Boy gets hit once, he's dead. And Leon, we'll see where Leon is with Diaz, but
he won't be strong enough. He won't be strong enough. If Usman wants to switch the flip and just go, or flip the switch and just go to wrestling, he'll overpower Leon 100%.
Yeah. I don't see Usman losing for a very long time, man. It's scary.
So let's go into the next thing. Who do you want to see him fight next? Because now that we know it's going to be Colby Covington, I don't think that's necessarily the fight that I want to see, given the fact that Usman is like really is the best version of himself. If he can strike like that against Covington, it's going to be no issues there. So who do you want Usman to fight next? Like what, even if it's like a super fight, like what is the fight you want to see? Because I had a name in mind that I think would be pretty awesome.
Oh man. So I do really like the Covington matchup still, just because of the animosity there. They literally cannot stand one another. So I love it for that reason. Do I think it's going to be as close as the first one? I don't. Other than that, though, I really would like to see the Leon matchup. The jury for me is still out on Leon because of what happened against Bilal Muhammad. Plus, Bilal Muhammad is multiple tiers below Kamaru Usman. But it's all going to depend on how Leon looks against Diaz. But other than that, I don't know. Like, it's getting close to the point where Usman is going to be on that John Jones, Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko level where there is just no one that's going to challenge him. And, like, he's so big, he could easily move up. But then you have Izzy
there.
That's
what I'm thinking.
And that's not going to happen because they're boys, obviously. And he can't move up too much because he'll be shorter at light heavyweight and things like that. And I don't like that. So I don't know. What were you thinking? I want to know.
My scenario, which we'll get into it again probably after this. But so if Robert Whittaker can defeat Israel Adesanya, then they can make a super fight where Usman moves up, faces Robert Whittaker, which I think is a phenomenal fight.
That's a banger, but there is an issue there. But continue.
No, that's pretty much where I want to see it, because if you're going to talk about from a striking perspective, Robert Whittaker is now a guy that probably could be better than Usman because he's more versatile. He's definitely more clean. And if it goes to the ground, like Whittaker is a strong as hell guy. He's going to be moving up 15 pounds. Granted, Usman's going to put on some mass. Like, he's going to look massive coming up to 185. He already is massive at 170, but I feel like that would just be an unbelievable fight to see those two guys go at it, because we obviously can't see Usman Izzy, but if we can see Whittaker Usman, I feel like that would be amazing.
I feel like that would be awesome, and I would love that fight, but the problem is first off, if Whittaker beats Izzy, they're going to run it back and do a trilogy
that is
right
a problem.
away. So that's the first problem. Second problem is if Whittaker wins, and then Usman fights Whittaker and beats Whittaker, now Izzy is virtually stuck because we've already seen him move up, and he can't fight at light heavyweight. There's just no future there for him. I love Izzy. I think he's a great fighter, but he's too small. He's just too small. He's got the height, but he's too skinny. He's not strong enough for light heavyweight. And he's not moving down. So now you're stuck. Izzy, one of the biggest stars in the sport right now, is stuck because, and there's already, most of those matchups are already gone. Like, he's already almost run through them, because that division, in my opinion, is not all that. It's literally Whittaker, Izzy, and then just the rest of the way. So I feel like you're almost virtually stuck then. So I feel like that's I feel like Usman is just at such a hard weight class where it's like it's hard for him to move up because of Izzy being there. If Izzy wasn't there, I think he would already be we'd already be talking about him moving up. I think it would already be a conversation. But I think because of Izzy being there, I don't think we see that happen. And he can't move down a weight class because he's already goddamn massive for 170. So he probably weighs at 185 at least on fight day. I mean, he's massive.
Really the problem is going to be, so if he goes out there, beats Covington, now we got the short list of people he hasn't really faced where it's Wonderboy and Leon. We don't really see them beating him at this point, just given the fact that Usman can stand up now just as good as anyone. So if he hits that John Jones level, that Amanda Nunes level, that's going to suck.
The only other name that in that time could make the rise would be Khamzat Chimaev. That'd be the only other name that could make that rise where if he comes back and looks great and it looks like he's going to fight Nick Diaz, if he comes back and just manhandles Nick Diaz, honestly, I hate that fight. I'm excited for Nick Diaz to come back, but Khamzat needs to be fighting guys closer to the top 10. Like Nick Diaz has not fought in 4 or 5 years. Like that cannot, like if you Khamzat needs, a lot of people will like the fight because of the COVID thing. They want it's almost like a feeler to get back. So I do understand that, but if he's 100% fine, that fight does nothing for him rankings wise. You know, the dude hasn't fought in 4 years.
So he does need the bounce. I mean, coming off the whole COVID thing, and even before that, dude, we still haven't seen he beat Gerald Meerschaert. That's still the best name on his resume. And you're saying we should go right to the top 10. It's like he should be like fringe 15 guy at this point.
Yeah, but I just look at the matchups in the top 15, and I feel like a lot of those guys he would just run right through.
I know.
I think he is that good. I mean, I don't know how good he would be against the guys in the top 10. But okay, maybe the guys right outside the top 10, maybe like 11, 12. I don't know. I haven't looked at the rankings in a while, so I know Tyron Woodley is not in them anymore. Well,
he got cut, right? That's some news. He got cut. He's out.
He's
that was expected. I don't think anyone is going to complain about that.
I hope Tyron Woodley gets, and it seems like that steam has kind of slowed down. I really want him to fight Jake Paul. That would. I mean, I think it'd be a great fight, and Tyron Woodley would. That he has a chance to come back because everyone thinks he's basically
he would be the hero. He would literally be the hero if he goes out there and knocks out Jake Paul. Now I don't think Jake Paul wants any of that.
No, I
don't think he wants any of that. I know Woodley has.
Jake Paul end up fighting freaking Dylan Dennis.
Well, dude, I mean the whole DC thing. So I don't know.
No, DC already came out. Did you see what he said?
I saw a little bit of what he said, but I'm not
only fight him at 205
if he comes into MMA,
right? In MMA, which oh my god.
I think
DC would draw that fight out for 5 rounds just to beat the piss out of Jake Paul. Like he would
Jake Paul would tap. He'd tap. He'd just be like, no, I'm done.
Yeah. That would be the most one side that would never get sanctioned. We'll just say that fight would never get sanctioned by the Athletic Commission.
No, you're right. And that was on my list. I don't even really want to talk about it that much. I know if Aaron's listening, put on your headphones here, but yeah, Jake Paul, DC. I mean, that was obviously one of the bigger things to happen at UFC 261, and he was getting booed, and it
looked like a dad yelling at his kid, like
scolding him.
Yeah, and Jake Paul, I feel like kind of looks scared, like his face is all red. Scared. I would be scared as hell too, man.
He was calling out DC before too, wasn't he? And then actually he gets in his face, and he was probably like, "Oh shit, DC's a fucking monster."
He's short, like Jake Paul's taller, but DC is an animal, dude. Like he would. I wish that he would have picked him up and just dropped him right there.
He said he wanted to. He was like, I wanted to do it so bad, but he couldn't because he's on the job. So I get that and I respect that. But
I think that's G as hell to just get off the headset in between. So there, like I said, there was that 10 minutes between the main card and the prelims. And so in that 10 minutes is when all that shit happened. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. You had the Dan Hardy with Herb Dean off the mics. Like, I love when that shit happens. And we don't know it's happening, but you know, the day of the age of cell phones is great. People just got their phone out and like videoing it all. It's sick.
Yeah, and they said that DC was like on the mic, and he was like, "Hey, I need 2 minutes," and he just didn't give a reason why. And he just got up and just went over to Jake Paul for 10 minutes and just ripped him a new one, which is great to see. But God, all right. So the little bit of the Usman talk there, but kind of on the flip side, I wanted to see who do you think George Masvidal should fight next for the BMF belt. So he still has the BMF belt.
Does he?
We need a name in there.
Did someone Photoshop Usman with the BMF belt?
I think they just are saying because he got the shit kicked out of him that it technically twice. He beat the shit out of him twice. That should technically be his belt. But
quick back to the DC quick. Yeah. Bruce Bobtrotter says DC helping Jake Paul by going up to talk to him. I do 100% agree with that. Yeah. I said that on Saturday. I was like, man, this is only going to get Jake Paul more news, and it did. It was all over Twitter.
Oh, so. It's all over MMA Junkie, dude. Again, all the headlines from UFC 261, and still Jake Paul's on there.
The hardcore MMA fans, which I would say I'm a hardcore, but I'm also like a hardcore for drama. Like I love that shit. So sign me up for drama. I feel like I love the headlines, but anyone that's like a hardcore MMA fan, oh, this is eating at them. They're like, just get this clown out of here.
I know. Yeah, dude, if we ever saw something happen. Yeah. So
George Masvidal.
Yeah, George Masvidal, BMF. It still has to be an event. It has to be an event. The Rock has to be there. He's got to bring in the belt and put it on the line. And it has to. That's got to be the next fight because George Masvidal's stock just dropped 1,000,000%. His next fight has to be the BMF, and then he might even maybe retire after that. But a name I was thinking of, I don't want to see Nate Diaz. I saw Nick Diaz's name tossed in there. I want to see Conor McGregor. If he goes out there losing to Dustin Poirier, his path very well could be Conor McGregor fights for the BMF belt against George Masvidal at 170, and then maybe fights Jake Paul a little bit down the line after that.
I don't think we see it, dude. And I said this before. I think Jorge Masvidal is on a trajectory such as Tyron Woodley. I think that we're going to see Jorge Masvidal take a massive nosedive because I don't know about getting knocked out like Tyron. Or I guess Tyron really didn't get knocked out until Luque, but I just, Masvidal still has great boxing, but he just got outstruck by a wrestler. Granted, he's strong as shit, but that's pretty bad. Like you're a boxer, you're labeled a boxer, the street fighter boxer, and you just got flatlined by the wrestler.
And what happened the fight before that? You went all 5 rounds and got your ass kicked up and down the whole time.
For me, there are some okay matchups for Masvidal in that division, but I just don't I don't wonder.
Do you think the BMF hype?
There's no one in the division
around it is gone.
I think a lot of the hype around Masvidal is gone. If you saw, it was almost like the wind was sucked right out of the stadium when Usman won for the Masvidal fans because they're just like, holy shit, this guy was supposed to baptize Usman and he just got baptized.
Down in Florida too. Yeah, all the
literally, he just got worked. I mean, I think the hype around Masvidal is a little bit gone. He doesn't have, Nate Diaz could lose 100 times and his fans are still going to back him. Masvidal doesn't have that kind of following.
No.
I kind of agree with you. Conor McGregor, if he goes out and loses to Poirier, which I'm kind of heavy leaning on Poirier. I don't know what it is, but I'm maybe recency bias, but I liked Poirier this last fight. I just like what Poirier has done, and Conor McGregor hasn't really evolved, in my opinion. I think that if Conor lost, that would make the most sense for the UFC, 100%.
Agreed.
But at the same time, if Conor goes out and gets knocked out again by Dustin Poirier in his game, Conor is the boxer, right? Conor is the striker. If he goes out and gets knocked out again by Poirier, is that really what we want to see? Now he's losing at what he's good at. You know what I mean? Then it's
right.
I mean, the names are there, but if you really sit and think about it, it's almost is that the fight to make? I don't really know. But I really want to see Masvidal versus Leon. That's the fight I've wanted to see because of the hype behind it, but not for the BMF belt. I just want to see it because of the 3-piece in a soda. And I just don't know if that's going to happen either. At this point, that loss really hurts Masvidal. He got beat twice and he got tagged a lot. He wore a lot of shots before going down in that fight on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think even with that too, the George Masvidal, as we're saying it's the hype. It was the hype train all along. I don't think he ever really was a top 5 guy.
Look at his record.
Never was and we say he's kind of a journeyman. He's more than that, but he's not far from it.
His run is great. His run is good. As far as his age, kind of making a late run, it's cool.
Right.
But he's not the best mixed martial. There's way better mixed martial artists in that division. Gilbert Burns is better mixed martial artist than him. He already got beat by Wonder Boy. He's got some bad losses on. He's got 17 losses now, 16 losses. Like,
he's on 15. He's 35-15.
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, look at the guys that are at the top in that division. None of them have double-digit losses other than him.
Hell no. No, not even close, dude. Like, Thompson never loses. Leon Edwards never loses. Gilbert Burns, Colby Covington, these guys don't lose. He's lost 15 times.
I think the one fight that he could potentially, and I don't think he wins, but I think, he could beat Wonderboy if he was to clip him. Like,
I don't know, man.
I don't think he does beat
him. It would have to be like
saying,
the Pettis off the
he would
fence.
Has a shot at clipping him because that there's no rest there. He doesn't have to worry about the takedowns.
Right.
But I don't like the Burns matchup, and I don't like Covington. Like, I think Covington would just wrestle him the whole time. Like, and the reason he says the reason why he lost is he wasn't expecting Usman to really hit like that. He was expecting more wrestling. I mean, did you not watch the Gilbert Burns? Like, this dude, since he's been at, Trevor Whitman's gym, has literally become a pretty decent boxer. Like, and with the power that he's already got, like,
and that's why Usman's great, is because he can do both things now. But George Masvidal has been the one-trick pony his entire career. He's got like 20 knockouts. He only has like 1 or 2 submissions, but he never goes to the ground. He never wants to be on the ground.
He was getting beat by Darren Till, and Darren Till at 170 was not great. He was very depleted at 170. He was getting beat by Darren Till up until Till got knocked out. So, I think that it was just kind of the run he went on. He got hot at the right time. It's almost like you relate it to football, Eli Manning, in grand scheme of things, not a great quarterback, but he got hot at the right times, played well at the right time in the Super Bowls. I kind of related to that. He got hot at the right time. He got the hype around him at the right time. He had the perfect shtick for people to cling on to, and he had the flash. He had all that. It was great, and it was great for him. He made his money, but I think it's going to be steep decline for Jorge Masvidal upcoming. And I don't know if to me the BM, like, it's clear Kamaru Usman is the BMF. He is the BMF.
I know.
He just literally got flatlined
back to back.
Kamaru Usman is, and Conor McGregor wanting to fight Usman. Is that on your headlines? Because what the fuck?
That was on my headlines. And you know what, dude, this is crazy. Like, how far has Conor fallen?
And Conor's fans think he could beat him.
Dude, it is the stupidest.
They're so dumb.
I couldn't believe it. When I saw that, it reminded me of when Nate Diaz started calling out everyone just to stay relevant. Like, it's crazy that I'm now seeing that about Conor, who he's fallen. His hype has fallen after that Dustin Poirier loss. He hasn't won a fight in 5 years. Or I guess he beat Cowboy Cerrone, but dude, he would get mauled by Usman. It would not even be close. He got
taken down by Poirier, and Poirier has a wrestling background. He got taken down by Poirier with ease. Okay, and then
Usman's
he got knocked
one of the best wrestlers in the UFC.
Usman would ragdoll him,
and he's coming up to 170.
Conor's power barely even played at 170 against Diaz. You think Usman's going to be phased by that? Like, listen, this is why I've kind of out on Conor. Like, I'm going to watch all Conor's pay-per-views because it's Conor, but like, I guess when you fight, you got to have that confidence. But come on, man, like, he's literally saying that shit to stay relevant. And that's
what I'm saying.
That's literally it. There's no way that in his mind he can actually think, I'm going to go beat Usman. Like, no. And Conor's fans, it's Conor's mindset. No one can break him. He's got the, his will. It doesn't matter. He's not the best in the world. Usman is potentially the best fighter in the world right now. Like, and Conor's getting flatlined by Dustin Poirier, which Dustin Poirier is great, but Kamaru Usman is possibly the best fighter on the planet right now outside of John Jones. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here?
I couldn't believe when I saw that, man. My head blew up, and I was like, these Conor fans are going to go absolutely berserk over this. If Conor goes out and beats Dustin Poirier, that fight is not far from being made. That could potentially happen. He could move up to 170 and skip the line because it's Conor.
This is going to sound crazy, but I almost feel if Conor goes and beats Dustin, I feel like they have to run it back a 4th time. And I know Conor would have won the trilogy, but the thing is, the second fight happened so much later than the first fight that their styles are so much like, well, Conor's kind of the same style, but Dustin has changed so much that I feel like the trilogy isn't really a trilogy because it's happened so far apart, if that makes sense. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
I get what you're saying. I mean, dude, that was the fight that was like what 2012, 2013 when they first fought, and that's such a different version of
weight
Conor.
Class too.
Different weight class. You look at Conor today; he was so much more like flat-footed, and he looked stiff, and he was looking his age a little bit. Meanwhile, Dustin is the one who looked like he's evolved way more than Conor has.
And Conor and Dustin's fought way more and been in way more wars. So for Conor to be showing his age of verse, you would think of all people, Dustin would start slowing down because
with the mileage,
and wars. Like Dustin's been in some crazy.
Dan Hooker,
wars.
Dude, 5 rounds. Justin Gaethje, that went 4 or 5.
Max Holloway.
Max Holloway, dude, he's been in there with everyone and he's beating people. He beat the shit out of Max Holloway.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not confident in Conor at all this time around. You know, I was very confident in him last time. I'm not going to say very confident because it's just the inactivity, man. Like, I don't like it. I think I think Conor's, it's Dana White's having a fucking rough year, man. Because Conor, you got, he would have loved, I think he's kind of, Usman gained a lot of fans. So I think that he's okay with Usman being champ. But like, he lost Zhang Wei Li now. The Chinese market is crazy. And now he's lost that. It's just so much that he's losing that it's like it's been a rough year for him.
It has, yeah. And I will just say that the one thing that we have seen, if Conor does have a chance, Gilbert Burns did hit Usman. Usman did go down, so he's not unbreakable. There's a little piece of him that can break, and I think Conor, obviously having the striking background that he does, can get it done. Would love to see that fight. Max Holloway versus Conor.
Huber says Max Holloway versus Conor at 155. See, this is my problem. Listen, you're talking to one of the biggest Max Holloway fans. Love Max Holloway, but the power doesn't play at 55 for Max Holloway.
We saw it.
Against Poirier, we saw it. They fought at 55, and the volume is there, but you have to realize Max Holloway doesn't knock guys out at 45. He just it's the amount of damage he inflicts as far as just volume, consistent strikes. I mean, guy lands over 200 strikes a fight, but he doesn't
cardio and the pace for 5 rounds.
He doesn't knock them out at 45. Like he didn't knock out Ortega. He didn't knock out Calvin Kattar. So like that's the problem. Max Holloway's power, and he can eat the shots. Like he'll go 5 rounds at 55, but he can't knock guys out at 55 because the power just doesn't play. But I think if they were going to fight again, it would have to be at 45, and there's no way Conor is ever going back down to 45.
Has Holloway ever been finished? Did Conor finish Holloway?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm going to double check because I feel like no one finishes Max Holloway. So the fact that if Conor couldn't put him away in the first 2 rounds there, I mean, that's going to shift heavily into Max Holloway's favor. But let's see.
It's just the
never
power.
Knocked out. Never knocked out.
It's just the power. The power for Holloway, I think, is it just doesn't play at 55. I would love the fight. But Max Holloway is a true 45er. He's not a guy that could go back and forth divisions. You know, like he should stick at 45.
I would love to see that fight though, but I do think Max is going to be on a mission to take down Volkanovski, regain the belt. I don't think he'd be looking for the move up to 155. Really,
there's so many.
He's still young.
There's still really good fights at 45 for him too.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that.
Zabit got removed from the rankings. You see that?
He did.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Zabit got removed from the rankings, and so did there was someone else
in that division. Was it Yair?
I don't know if it was Yair. I know Zabit was one. I can't remember the other one, but yeah, he loses his spot in the top. Well, he was what, 3rd? That sucks.
He was number 3. He was 1 fight away from the title shot.
Yeah, that sucks, man, because of inactivity. So he's one. I mean, that's the one time where like the number 3 guy could fight Zabit. Ally Quinta, that's who it was. He hasn't fought since 2019. Zabit's a guy that could fight one time and get himself back in there. But yeah, I think he's been scheduled before and had a pull out. And I don't know. Zabit's weird because he's a guy he's a tough guy at that division because he's so freaking big.
He's
but
massive.
He doesn't fight often. And I say this all the time. The UFC is becoming a business where activity is key. Look at Kevin Holland. He's just going to keep getting fights because he'll take whatever fight.
And granted, Zabit was supposed to fight Yair. And then
Yair he's missing. We still don't know where
MIA. We don't know. If you've seen Yair Rodriguez, please contact us at MMA Stooges.
Yeah, we'll let Dana know then. I think he's in Mexico somewhere. Some people are saying he's avoiding drug tests. I have no idea. Yair pulled out 3 times. He always pulls out, man. Like he doesn't have any children. He's
pull out king. Out. Damn.
Pull out game strong.
Yeah.
What else we got, Steve?
All right. Well, I wanted to get into this one because I thought this was obviously one of the bigger news stories to break. So I don't know what to make of it just yet. So Israel Adesanya is booked to face Marvin Vettori for the second time. Now, Whitaker was offered the fight. He was offered the fight. It's going down in June. Whitaker said, no, I need more time. Whitaker's calling bullshit. He thinks that Izzy called for the fight early just to avoid him, which I'm thinking that there's some truth to that because Whitaker's looking goddamn good. And now I'm kind of pissed because I think there is actually not a small chance. I don't know if I'm going to say a decent chance, but Marvin Vettori can pose problems for Israel Adesanya, as we saw against Jan Blachowicz on the ground. If it's Marvin Vettori versus Whitaker, I'm going to be pissed. I need to see Izzy versus Whitaker. I need that to happen.
So this is my thing. I don't think Izzy's scared, man. I don't like to say any fighter is scared. There's very
avoiding
few times.
A little bit though. You could say that, not necessarily scared, but
Izzy's
avoiding
a guy,
it.
His whole career he's been active. His whole career he's been active. So and it's not like Marvin. I mean, listen, Marvin Vettori is an easier fight than Robert Whitaker, but it's not like he's a pushover. He fought a good fight against Izzy. You know, that was before we knew who Izzy was. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's avoiding him because if anything, he's going up against a guy that's strong at Izzy's weakest point.
Right.
With that said, I don't give Marvin Vettori a chance. This is my thing. Marvin Vettori gets hit way too much. He gets hit. He got hit by Jack Hermanson, who Jack Hermanson is not a striker.
No.
He got hit clean a couple times against Kevin Holland. Izzy's coming in as a true 185er. Kevin Holland could easily move down to 70. He barely weighs in at 85. So Izzy's going to have more power. I don't see Marvin. I see Marvin Vettori getting pieced up. I think Izzy's only gotten better since the first fight. And Izzy at 85 has proven to be able to stuff takedowns. He's stuffed takedowns. He's stuffed takedowns against a lot of good people in that division. It's at 205 is a big difference. Izzy weighed in at 204 or 203, and Jan Blachowicz was probably 235 pounds.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the case at this division. And in this fight, Marvin Vettori is going to weigh in at 85. He'll probably weigh in at like 190, 200, whatever. But Izzy will be able to stuff those takedowns, and he'll be able to, punch his way through Marvin Vettori. So I don't think Izzy has to worry about that fight. I do think Robert Whitaker, though, now poses a threat to Izzy because he's got the wrestling on top of the striking. Marvin Vettori is not going to outstrike Adesanya, but Whitaker has the wrestling, so Izzy's got to think about that and the striking.
Exactly.
So I do think that where Whitaker does pose the threat. I know that people were pissed. I'm not pissed because for me, like Whitaker was offered the fight. Obviously, it was too soon. He's not a guy. He doesn't really like to fight that often. That was too quick of a turnaround. He's a family guy, likes to be with the family. Plus, he's had little nagging injuries through his career. So he's going to take time, and he's going to get the winner. So who cares? And we'll see. We will definitely see Whitaker Izzy too. I mean, if Marvin Vettori was to win, we would see Whitaker versus Vettori. I think Whitaker wins that fight, and then we would see Izzy Whitaker anyway. So the fight will eventually happen, but I don't see Izzy having any issues on fight day.
No, I think the biggest thing there, he weighed 211. I mean, that is obviously huge, and we're going to see a different Marvin Vettori, someone who's hasn't lost since he lost to Israel Adesanya. He's on like a 5 or 6 fight win streak.
Yeah, I like Marvin. I like Vettori a lot.
He's a dangerous man, dude. He does not go out early. That's another guy. I don't know if he's really been finished.
I don't know if Izzy would knock him out, but with the height difference, and Izzy is a better striker than Kevin Holland. I'm sorry, like Kevin, he'll be able to keep his distance, and again, I think he should still be able to stuff takedowns. Not too often do I say this. I hate when fighters fight with their back against the cage, but I think it would be almost smarter for Izzy to fight that way. That way, if Vettori was to go for a takedown, it's not clean in the center of the octagon where Izzy can't scramble to the cage. Yeah. He's already kind of there. Izzy does much better defending the takedown against the cage and kind of getting the underhooks and moving away. If it was in the middle of the octagon like it happened against Jan, he can't get up then. And I do think that would pose a problem, but I'm not too worried about that fight for Izzy. I do think that Whitaker does pose a much bigger threat, but I'm not mad about it because that's what Whitaker wanted. There's no one else to give the fight to other than him. So if that's what Izzy wants to fight, he wants to fight. I think that if Whitaker was good for June, Izzy would say, okay, just give me an opponent. I just want to fight. That's my take.
Yeah, I was pissed like right off the bat when I saw that. I was like, that's bullshit. But then the fact that I saw Whitaker was offered the fight in June, that made me feel a lot better just because
his next
he's
fight
obviously
is going to be for the belt.
Yes, it's not even a question. Like I just wanted that to be cemented basically because I was not really sure. Yeah, we needed to see that because Whitaker is just destroying the best people in that division outside of Israel Adesanya, and it needs to happen soon. And I know it will. I think Adesanya takes care of business. I think it'll be kind of like the Yoel Romero fight where he slows him down with the leg kicks. And then eventually he could probably, I don't know if he'll finish Vettori. But yeah, I like Izzy in that one. But if we're doing rate that matchup, I'm not giving that a 5. I'm not super excited about that one. I would probably say it's like a 3.5, if I'm being honest.
I think 3.5 is fair. I think 3.5 is probably good. Marvin Vettori doesn't push the needle for people because he sucks at shit talking. But anytime it's Izzy, I can kind of see this fight going a lot like Gastelum. I think that it'll be more one-sided in the striking for Izzy than it was when he fought Gastelum. Like Gastelum got some good shots in, but Gastelum's a better striker than Marvin Vettori. So I think that he'll just kind of counter the whole time, throw the jab out there, just kind of batter the face up a little bit. And then as rounds 4 and 5 go, because we saw Vettori also get tired a couple times, not really against Holland, but against Hermanson, he did tire out a little bit. That could be an issue. But I think that fight goes 5 rounds. I think it's going to be more just Izzy kind of landing shots and creating damage. I don't know that he'll finish Vettori. Vettori's pretty tough.
Yeah, I agree. But going into the next matchup here, not a fan of this one. Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Next opponent is Augusto Sakai. I mean, it just doesn't move the needle for me. Rozenstruik is just a guy. I don't really know what to do with him. I don't think he'll ever make it to the top, but I feel like he's
like
right
a gatekeeper
there
already.
He's like a gatekeeper of like the top like 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's a great kickboxer. He has amazing strength and power, and he can knock you out in one shot, but we've just seen it time and time again. He's not elite.
Yeah, it's like a 2 for me. I don't like Augusto Sakai at all. I think he destroys Augusto Sakai, but like you said, there's no one else. Like give him anyone in the top 5 and he's losing. Like he's not well-rounded enough. The heavyweights are starting to become more well-rounded outside of Derek Lewis, but Volkov is and I mean I guess they're more strikers, but we're seeing guys just be better overall. And Rozenstruik, he looked really shitty against Cyril Gane, like really bad.
Shitty.
And he was losing against Overeem until he landed the punch. So I do think he got a little overhyped pretty quickly. That'll happen in the heavyweight division because you got viral knockouts, things like that. It happens often in the heavyweight division. But yeah, he's gonna be it sucks. Like he's basically gonna be a guy that's a gatekeeper. They can keep him around though, because he's gonna be a tough fight. He can knock out anyone at any time. But I don't see him ever challenging for a belt. And Augusto Sakai sucks, I think. So
yeah, he lost his last fight, if you remember, to Overeem, and it was like he was winning the first round, maybe the first 2 rounds, and then it kind of just shifted as soon as like cardio became a thing. He had nothing left to give.
Yeah, I'm out on Augusto Sakai, so I'm definitely out on that fight. I don't hate Rozenstruik. I'll watch all his fights because there's always that chance for a good knockout. But
sure,
I agree with you though. Not top 5 material and definitely not championship material.
Yeah, I'll go like you said 2. I'll agree. It's a 2. It stinks.
Yeah.
Those heavyweights, I mean, if we get a nice knockout out of it, that's always fun, but it could definitely be a 3-round. Oh, it's actually a headliner, so we'll get 5 rounds.
Shit,
that could be a stinker, man.
Fight.
Yeah, it's a headliner on June 5th. That could be a stinker.
That card is going to be and it'll probably be a 10 o'clock card too. So we'll be doing a recap on a shit card at 3 a.m. God damn it.
Well, the next one too, I don't really know what to make of this one, but did you see Marlon Chito Vera taking on Davey Grant? Davey Grant just taking out the young guy. What was his name? Rodriguez? What's his name?
It was Martinez, right?
Martinez.
Martinez.
Jonathan Martinez, who was really good, and he had that crazy knockout over him. But Chito Vera, man, I mean, that's someone that I consider to be like definitely top 15, maybe like a top 10 guy in that division. So I was a little confused.
Not top 10, not top 10.
You don't think Chito Vera's top 10?
Nah, I don't. He's fringe top 15. He's good, but he's He's fringe top 15. He got. I mean, I know Aldo is a major step up, but he got worked by Aldo.
Bro, you're talking about top 5 Jose Aldo, who still looks like he's got something left to give. But you look at like
is that 35?
Yeah, they're 135. Like you're looking at like you don't think he could beat Dom Cruz? He could take out this version of Dom Cruz we just saw.
No, he won't beat Dom Cruz.
Assunção, Jimmy Rivera, like those are the guys like fringe top 10.
I don't think he beats Jimmy Rivera.
I think those are all great matchups.
He gets out wrestled by Merab. He gets out wrestled by Stamann. He gits outstruck by Kyler Phillips.
Oh man, dude, I would love to see Kyler Phillips, Marlon Vera. That would be fireworks. I don't know the Davey Grant.
He gets beat by Munoz. He could maybe beat Frankie Edgar if he catches him.
I think he belongs in that top 10 conversation, but at the very least 15 for sure. But then you got Sean O'Malley still coming up.
He would, yeah. I think he beats Davey Grant. Davey Grant literally was so one-dimensional when he fought Jonathan Martinez. He literally the whole time was literally like looking for a counter right-hand bomb the whole time. And Jonathan Martinez eventually fell for the bait for whatever reason and got killed. Davey Grant is a wrestler. Maybe he turns back time, tries to wrestle Chito, but I don't like this matchup for Davey Grant, but it's a fight that Davey Grant has to take. He's getting older. He's got 2 big knockouts. If he wins this fight, instantly top 15. He's probably replaces Chito Vera. I'm not going to say he doesn't have a shot, but I like Chito in this fight, but I think I'm not that excited about it. I'll give it a 2.5. It doesn't move the needle for me. I'm not that big. I like Chito Vera, but I'm not like a hardcore. And I agree with Huber here. Merab, that fight with Stamann. If you like wrestling, that's going to be the fight to watch. That's this weekend. That is going to be a wrestle fest. And Umar Nurmagomedov too is an absolute
and
stud.
O'Malley coming in. So that's 3 guys who will take over the top 10. This is an incredible division. This is an incredible division.
You look at the top 15. Rafael Sunsao is going to eventually be phased out. Dominick Cruz will eventually be phased out. Frankie Edgar is going to retire. He should retire.
Those guys are on the way to like the bottom of the
Marlon Moraes loses another 2 fights and he's gone.
He might get cut, dude. I don't know what's going on with him.
The top 4 is solid. 5 is solid as shit, though. I mean, Aldo, Garbrandt, Font, Sandhagen, Jan, and then Sterling. That's pretty good.
The division is safe for a long, long time, and I'm very excited for it. But yeah, like you said,
Chito Vera stands no chance in.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I think he's like a fringe top 10 guy. We'll see if he catches a win over Davey Grant. That's not going to move him up anything. So that's why I'm confused why he's taking that fight. Yeah.
I think a lot of it's because it's booked up. Like Jimmy Rivera just got his leg chewed off pretty good by Munoz. Munoz just fought. Dominick Cruz just fought.
Good fight to Sunsao. Sunsao's last fight, I think, was his knockout.
Sunsao still probably freaking still waking up from the knockout by Cody.
It was Cody, wasn't it?
He already fought Aldo. Marlon Moraes, I mean, he could
fight that.
I mean, but he just got knocked out pretty bad. So I don't know. Like that's the thing. I think that and he doesn't deserve anyone in the top 5. So I think that's really the only fight he could take. I'm pretty surprised that Kyler Phillips bumped all the way up to 14. That must show how high they are on him because, I mean, Song Yadong is good, and it wasn't like he knocked Song Yadong out, but, they must be really high on Kyler Phillips. So,
hey, I don't want to say I called that one, but Kyler Phillips is on
Fireblade 007. What's up, man or woman? I don't know. Yeah, you have a question about an upcoming fight? Fire away. We're down to answer questions. In the meantime, Steve, what else you got?
Honestly, that was the last I had for Rate That Matchup. And, we kind of ran through, we did a little bit of the Monday matchmaking. We did a little bit of the headlines there. But yeah, it's crazy how we're just like, all right, UFC 261, incredible event. Now we're done. We're moving on to UFC Vegas 25, which I'm actually pumped about. I think this main event's going to be banana land. Just complete bang.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that makes me laugh is, all right, here we got the question.
Let's fucking go, dude.
Who do you think will win the Gregor Gillespie fight? He's literally my idol. Okay.
See, this is a tough fight because Diego Ferreira is like a 3rd-degree Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter, like black belt. He's insane on the ground. Plus his he's got that weird, like awkward striking that sometimes actually has a lot of power behind it. And he has like the output, he has the cardio. But dude, Gregor Gillespie, I'm telling you, like his wrestling skills, he's like a top 2, top 3 wrestler for sure in that division. He does have like a slight size disadvantage, but he's violent. Both of these guys are violent. Like I'm really excited about this fight. I'm probably going to lean Gregor when we come to the picks, but it could go either way.
I'm leaning. So I really like Gregor too, and I don't want to lose a fan. So I don't want to say any, or a listener. So I don't want to say anything bad, but Diego Ferreira, man, that fight against Beneil was not bad. The wrestling exchanges were good. The boxing I just think that the stand-up is where I'm a little worried about Gregor. That's the only thing I'm worried about. I think that he can handle the fight on the ground easily. If the striking is what worries me. It's been a while since he's fought, and obviously the last fight was against the knockout against Kevin Lee, I'm glad that Fireblade didn't see our intro, because I think he would be a little offended, because it is Gregor Gillespie getting knocked out. But I like Gillespie, I do, and I want to root for him because he's awesome. He loves to fish, which I think what I like about him is the fact that he literally fights once a year because he fishes. He's an avid fisherman, and so he's like, I don't know, I'm just gonna fight once and then just fish for the rest of the year. So I think that's awesome. He doesn't like get too caught up in being a fighter, which is pretty cool. He can throw, but Ferreira, I think, is a better
violent
striker.
Man.
He is.
People forget Gregor Gillespie was undefeated before he got head kicked, which you could still say potentially was a fluke. He might have just got caught with the head kick. Obviously, that's going to put out anyone. But like that, if that fight goes on for the whole 3 rounds, I think Gillespie probably comes out on top.
The other thing, and I hate saying this, but the other thing you got to think of is when fighters get knocked out, how's it going to affect them going forward?
Agreed.
You get knocked out like that, you don't know how they're going to react. You also there's a lot that goes into it. So I'm excited to see Gregor back after that. I wanted to see him come back quicker, but I don't know. I think that Diego will end up being an underdog, and because of that, I'll probably put money on Diego. But I mean, I would much rather see Gregor win than Diego. I mean, we've already seen what he can do against Beneil. He doesn't really belong there. He's a good fighter, but he doesn't belong, in the top, whatever they are, 10. So I would like to see Gregor, get a win and kind of start moving up. And then we had another question. Thanks for the questions, guys. Who does Magomed Ankalaev fight next? I love Magomed Ankalaev.
If that's an actual question, he doesn't have a fight booked next, or is that like a hypothetical?
No, I think he's hypothetically saying.
Damn, dude, he's got the sky is the limit with this dude. See,
for me, there's only 2 right now. I like Rakic, but Rakic is almost in line for a title shot at this point.
He's going to get
Rakic, I think, is going to get the winner of Prochazka versus Reyes, and then the winner of that gets the next title shot.
I agree.
So I think you got to take Rakic out. You have Thiago Santos there, which I like Ankalaev in that fight. He's so strong, dude, with good wrestling and striking.
He would destroy Santos. He'd pick him apart. Sorry,
he did struggle a little bit his last fight, but it wasn't bad. He ended up calming down, and he out-wrestled the wrestler, which is impressive as hell. And the only other person outside of that would be Anthony Smith, who just fought and didn't do anything. That's it. Those are the 2 guys, Thiago Santos or Anthony Smith. And Anthony Smith is down to fight anyone. I think that's a tough fight for Anthony Smith, but Anthony Smith is a dog. So I would like to see that. Other than that, I don't want Ankalaev fighting anyone outside of the top 5.
No, I don't think he can. At this point, he beat Nikita Krylov, so he earned his spot. He's number 7 right now. Ankalaev is, so it has to be someone in front of him. And just like you said, just given all those matchups that are already booked, and Rakic is already the guy. Like he's not going to take a fight against Ankalaev. Like he's already next in line.
Light heavyweight sucks, man. Like you look at this top, and it's like I really like Ryan Spann, but I think Ryan I don't know if Ryan Spann's top. Like I don't know. I need to see more from Ryan Spann.
It's very thin. But Rakic, Ankalaev, like those guys are studs.
Jimmy Crute's too young. Jamal Hill and Paul Craig are fighting, I believe, soon. I think that's a matchup. They're fighting one another. So I like that. I think Jamal Hill has some potential, but again, it's like a massive drop-off. Like you have Jan, Teixeira, Rakic, Reyes, And then I even think after those 4, it's a major drop off with Santos. I like Prochazka too. Don't get me wrong.
Let's be honest. If Johnny Walker is your number 10 ranked fighter, you got a problem.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that. Your division's screwed.
100%. Do I know who's on the main card for the Gregor fight? I
might have that up. Hold on.
I don't have it up in front of me.
It's a little deep. It's like in July, so they probably don't even have the card filled out. But I mean, we can get into the picks now too. I mean, we're running into this one right now. Already at hour.
Yeah.
Or if people got more questions, we can just rip away at those.
Thanks, man. Fireblade for the comment. We actually have other people on. Normally we have our friend Kieran. He's not with us right now. The MMA Stooges channel has everything. We got Norton MMA, who he covers the UK. Kieran, is normally with us. We got Josh. We got Aaron, the dog, who does a lot of betting stuff. So our channel's got a little bit of everything. We're growing little by little, but tell everyone about it. We appreciate it. And, we love doing it. So I think that's what makes it most fun.
Okay, ready? So I was wrong. It's not July. So Diego Ferreira, Gregor Gillespie, that's May 8th. Listen to this card. This is freaking stacked.
I have seen it, yeah.
Corey Sandhagen, Dillashaw is the main event. Cowboy Cerrone taking on Diego Sanchez is the co-main. Ben Rothwell, Philippe Lins, Amanda Ribas just booked her fight. She's fighting Angela Hill. Neil Magny fighting Jeff Neal. Fucking banger. Also Phil Hawes, Kyle Dawkins, they're on there. Like there's some massive names on there. And that's an incredible card. I love that.
Yeah, that's a good card. And shout out to Dawkins brothers, friends of the show. Well, Chris is a friend of the show. Kyle will eventually be on. But Dawkins brothers, they're gonna I don't really like Phil Hawes, man. I don't know. There's something about him. I just don't really like Phil Hawes. So
you can tell it to Jacob Malkoon when we interview him at some point.
I'm not going to ask him that.
Yeah, probably not. It's a touchy subject.
So let's get into the picks though. So I'm actually excited for this card, but I'm super nervous, man. Those of you that know, I'm a big Cub Swanson fan, and he's got a freaking tough matchup this weekend. It sucks, dude. It sucks so much because Giga is so good, and I really like him too. And Cub, man, you never know. The thing is with Cub Swanson, he's a dog. Like he can win at any moment. But it's just one of those things where he's getting older, and Giga is he's so good. He's freaking good.
He's so good, but he has not faced anyone with the name like Cub Swanson, the experience like Cub Swanson. So I do have Cub Swanson on Dog Alert. I do. I think there's some money there.
I want to bet money, but I'm scared because when I bet money, they end up losing. So it's like I don't want to put money on Swanson because he's my guy.
Like you said, so that means you have to bet on Chikadze.
Yeah,
because then you win either way.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so where are we? I got to look on ESPN because it doesn't have the. All right, so the first fight, Poliana Botelho versus Luana Carolina. Botelho comes in at -220. I don't know much about these women. I'll be honest with you. First off, Randa Marcos is on this card. I'm sorry. Get her out of the UFC. 10-1. That is just disgusting. There's no reason. There's no reason why. We have 2 Luanas on this card too. What the freak? I just got so confused. There's Luana Pinheiro and then Luana Carolina. That's crazy. What the freak? I just got so confused because I'm like, Luana's fighting one person on Tapology and then she's fighting another person on ESPN. So we got Polina Botelho, who's the favorite, versus Luana Carolina. Botelho she lost to Jillian Robertson by decision. She beat Lauren Mueller on by decision. She lost rear naked choke. She's actually been in the UFC for a while. Damn. And she beat Pearl Gonzalez. She seems to be a decision machine, so not doing anything specific. Luana Carolina, she lost her last fight against Ariana Lipsky, who she's very, very good. She lost via knee bar. Other than that, she has wins over women. I have no idea who they even are. She won on the Contender Series. this fight to me is just, I don't really freaking know, to be honest with you. And normally when I don't know, I just tend to lean the favorite. And so she seems to be a pretty heavy favorite at -220. So I will go Paulina Botelho by decision over Luana Carolina.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't know much about these two either. I don't know. You got an 8-3 pro record, a 6-2 pro record. Botelho's only 3-2 in the UFC. Carolina's 1-1 in the UFC. She was a Dana White Contender Series winner in 2018. That's always pretty cool. So Carolina's most recent loss too was to Ariane Lipski, and it was that. Remember that like crazy knee bar or whatever it was that Lipski got, and it went viral. I'm pretty sure it was against Carolina. So that's obviously not a good thing to be known by, but I don't know. I feel like outside of that, she's actually looked pretty solid, pretty well-rounded. She's got some submissions on record. She's knocked a few people out, although her last 3 wins have all been by decision. So I do see decision in the future here for sure. I'll go with a little bit of the upset alert here. I'll go with Carolina and give me the submission.
I like it. I think, with these fights, anything could happen. Fireblade, I'll go back to one of his things. He got into the UFC within the last year. I feel like he feels like he's missed out on so much. He watched Gregor Gillespie fight, got hooked. Listen, that's kind of a weird fighter to get hooked on, but I back it, man. I'm all for. I hate when people say, "Oh, my favorite fighter is Conor McGregor." Like, my favorite fighters are Paul Felder and Cowboy Cerrone. Like
Beneil Dariush. Like if you looked at Beneil Dariush like 2 years ago, you'd be like, this guy's gonna get cut next fight, and he's on like a 6-fight viral knockout spree. So it happens, man. That's the best way to get hooked is on those weird fighters.
Gary,
is it my turn?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're starting it off with that Botelho Motel Holiday Inn, but I don't think that she's gonna get the win. I'm just not about that motel life. Steve is. I'm not. And last time I was in South Carolina, I had a blast. Zach and I went. It was a family vacation. So I'm picking Luana Carolina. I'll go decision.
All right. Steve, you want to take us to Merab Dvalishvili, Cody Stamann?
Yes. So this is probably your fight of the night. This is going to be an incredible fight. So you got Merab coming in as the heavy favorite against Cody Stamann. Both these dudes just like to straight up wrestle. And if you know Merab, if you've seen any of his fights, like this dude is an absolute savage, has some of the best cardio in the UFC, and he has had multiple fights where he's had over 10 takedowns. And he's on a 5-fight win streak. He's beaten Casey Kenny. He beat John Dodson his last time out. Older John Dodson, but still he's got a couple good names on his resume. He does have 4 losses on his record. A lot of those have come at the early stages of his career, and he's really turned it around on that 5-fight win streak. But 4 losses, not unbeatable. Just going to say that. And Cody Stamann, I mean, he's very similar. So he's 5-2-1 in the UFC right now. 1-1-1 in his last 3. Draw against Song Yadong. He beat Brian Kelleher, lost to Jimmy Rivera. I feel like you kind of learn a lot with those 3 names and those 3 outcomes. Like he's not as good as Jimmy Rivera, but he beat Brian Kelleher, which is obviously a solid name. And Song Yadong, as we saw in his last fight and in his UFC career, he's a solid fighter, up and coming guy, and he had a draw with him. So I don't know. This is I really do believe in Merab Dvalishvili. I think he's going to be like a top 5 guy. I think at some point he could probably climb all the way to the top and potentially fight for the belt, and probably pretty soon because he's on this crazy 5-fight win streak right now. So love Cody Stamann. I think he's a great fighter, but I really think Merab's going to get this one done. And he is a massive decision guy, so I'm going to go with Merab by decision.
Yeah, I think it's an intriguing matchup because Stamann's background is wrestling, and he is a pretty good wrestler. He gets a decent amount of takedowns himself, but I think Dvalishvili is that next step of wrestler. I think he's a step ahead of Cody Stamann. The only thing is, if Stamann can keep it standing, he might have the striking advantage. I don't know. I think that just based on Dvalishvili's domination in all his fights, I don't know if it'll be that dominant. But I still think he gets it done, and I agree with you. He's a decision king, so he'll probably get it done by decision.
Not going to lie. This card's a little bit tough for me to make picks. We'll go with, Cody Stamann. he's missing the A, so he's short on the stamina. I think Dvalishvili is going to bring that spicy chili, and he's going to, I guess the consensus is decision, so I'll go decision as well.
Yeah, it's one of those fights where it's going to be kind of like boring. It might be boring. If you don't like wrestling, it's not. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but it's probably plus 1,000 that there's a knockout in this fight either way. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Well, and it's crazy too. Like, there's some guys out there who have like an outrageous takedown average. Like Curtis Blades has like a 8 or 9 like takedown average in each of his fights, but Dvalishvili is at 7.71. And granted, Stamann has like just over a 3 takedown average in each fight, which is solid. But having damn near close to 8 per fight, I mean, the guy is insane. If you haven't seen one of his fights, he is a psycho. Like, he goes in there just screaming in the middle of the fights, just goes nuts. Like, he is an awesome fighter to watch. So a lot of eyes will be on him for sure.
All right. So the next one. Fireblade. I bet on fights. We all bet on fights. But Aaron, who does shows on Wednesday, Thursday, he's the show to listen to. It's on this channel, so it'll be live on this channel. So if you subscribe, you'll know. He gives all the betting breakdowns. The dude's almost never wrong. So he does more of the betting. I mean, we bet, but I would not take betting advice from me. That's just me being honest. I don't ever freaking win. So, and I'm also very cheap. Like, I bet like $5. Aaron's out there throwing like $100 on bets. So he's the guy to listen to. He knows more about that. So if you tune in on Wednesday and Thursday, he does betting for every single MMA event. So PFL, UFC, Bellator, One Championship, LFA, everything. So I would definitely check that out. And he will lead you to money typically. But we do a cafe parlay for every card. It never hits, but you could always bet it. So our next fight, Sean Strickland versus Krzysztof Jotko. I really like this fight. I think this fight is an underrated fight. Krzysztof Jotko has been around for a little bit now, 22-4, so a very good record. He's beaten, his last one was over Eric Anders, which he looked really good. He beat Marc-Andre Barriault, who we just saw. He fought really, really well. Huge hands. He does have big losses, but tough losses to Brad Tavares, who's a dog, Uriah Hall, who's a dog, David Branch, who is also a dog. So very, very tough guys that he's lost to. On the other hand, we got Sean Strickland, who's 22-4, most notably fought twice in a matter of 13 days. So he fought and then literally turned it around, took a short notice fight, and dismantled Brendan Allen, which if you just watch Brendan Allen on Saturday, he won via knee bar or ankle lock, one or the other, against Carl Roberson. And he also picked apart Jack Marshman, who's tough. So if you look at this fight, Jotko has fought the tougher competition, but Sean Strickland's pace is insane. Like, he will go the 3 rounds in your face nonstop and just throw an obscene amount of shots at you. Like, and he's got crazy power. Like, his jab, when he fought Jack Marshman and Brandon Allen, his jab was busting them open. Like, just quick jab, and like they're bleeding all over the place. Like, his jab is that good. This is a tough one to pick because if you look at experience, they both have a lot of fights, but Jotko has fought the better competition. But then you got Strickland, who has looked really, really good. My problem is I look at the betting lines, and Sean Strickland is minus 240. That seems significantly high for someone who's really only beaten subpar UFC talent. And then you have Krzysztof Jotko, who beat Eric Anders, friend of our show, and Eric Anders looked like a world beater against Darren Stewart. I really like the plus 200 for Krzysztof Jotko in this one, and this is tough because I really like Sean Strickland, what he's done so far, but the competition is just not there for me yet. I think this name would be a much better name to add to that resume. So I'm actually going to go the underdog here in Krzysztof Jotko. I'm going to go decision though. I don't know if he gets a finish. I think that Sean Strickland seems really, really tough. And most of his wins decision. His last 3 wins are decision. One was a split to Barriault. He does get knocked out though. He got knocked out versus Brad Tavares and Uriah Hall. Strickland does have power, but most of his wins are decision. I'm going to go Jotko here by decision, maybe wrestle a little bit with Strickland and get the win. But I think this is a very underrated fight in my opinion.
I agree. I actually think if you're going to choose fight of the night, like this is definitely right in there as like a top 2, top 3. Like this is from a number standpoint too, like these guys are very similar. Like they're both 6 feet, 1 inches tall. You have Jotko 77-inch reach. You have Strickland 76-inch reach. Jotko's only 31 years old. Strickland's only 30 years old. You're talking about Jotko is 22-4. Strickland's 22-3. Strickland's 9-3 in the UFC. Jotko's 9-4 in the UFC. Like these dudes match up so well on paper. It is ridiculous. And again, yeah, you're saying like Jotko, he's a guy. Both of these guys actually entered the UFC 13-0 also. So like the numbers just keep adding up here. So they both basically went on this insane streak and then eventually got introduced to tougher competition. Sean Strickland has fought Kamaru Usman before. His first loss, I'm pretty sure, was to Ponzinibbio, who, years ago was an absolute world beater. So there has been some fights that Strickland has faced early on that have probably prepared him pretty well for the future, but I don't know. Like you said, Jotko, he's been facing more of the better competition. I think he has better wins, better names on his resume. Jotko also trains with American Top Team, also known as AT&T. I don't know. I think that Jotko money, that plus money, that looks pretty solid at the plus 200, just given these guys. Like Strickland might have some of the hype right now, just being more of the active fighter and knocking out Brandon Allen in his last fight, which was an awesome win. So like I like Strickland in this one. I think he throws with a lot of heat, but I think Jotko defensively is really solid, keeps his distance really good. He does not get hit. He can mix it up on the ground, has really good takedown defense. I'll ride with you. Originally I had Strickland knocking him out, but I kind of like Jotko here as the underdog. So I'll ride with you. Let's go with Jotko, and I'll go with decision.
Are we gonna team bet? Are we gonna team bet that fight?
We might have to. Dude, plus 200 is looking pretty nice. I just talked myself into that, or you even did too, but like that looks really good.
That means I did a good job breaking it down. Awesome.
I would agree.
Gary?
I'm going Stricklandly off the fact that Krzysztof is spelled with 2 Z's. That's just badass, man. You could have gone so many different routes with that. K-C-R, just a regular Christoph, the short Christopher, but he's got 2 Z's in that Krzysztof. So I'm going Jotko decision, which means Jotko's going to lose. If you put money down, put it on Strickland.
Yeah. Those of you, the new listeners, Carrie is our producer, but he always makes his funny picks. So people love it. People love Carrie's picks just because they're quirky.
Just real quick, shout out to Fireblade 007. So when you compare how someone did against the same opponent, that's when we start talking about MMA math does not make sense. It's all about styles. You all have to you can't really gauge how someone did against the same fighter because it's all about the styles and how they match up.
But we always use MMA math to make picks.
We do, and it's always MMA math. You'll learn this quick because Fireblade said he just started watching UFC. MMA math does not make sense.
No, it doesn't. But we still use it.
We still use it.
All right, you could take us. Yeah, you could take us to Iwan Cutelaba versus Dustin Jacoby. Another good fight.
Oh my God, this is actually sneaky, kind of an awesome card. But these kind of feel like some of them should be more like prelims on a big pay-per-view, but it works on a main card too. I'll take it. But Iwan Cutelaba, he's coming in as the slight favorite here, and this is a dude who has back-to-back losses against, as we were just talking about, Magomed Ankalaev, and he got pieced up in both of those. The first one was like that weird, controversial rope-a-dope type of thing where they thought that he was going out. He was saying that he was faking it. Either way, he got pieced up in both of those fights, and those are his most recent 2 losses. But this dude, I mean, he is an absolute savage. I think he goes by like the Incredible Hulk is his name or something. Like he's huge. Yeah. He's ripped. He knocks everyone out. 17 of 21 pro fights all ended in round 1. 5 of last 6 have ended by finish. Like, if this guy's going to win, he's going to win by just landing one massive shot because that's pretty much all he has. He can wrestle a little bit. He does have some fights where he utilizes the wrestling. And that would be smart if he were to go out there and utilize his wrestling and not just go out for the kill shot because you're on a 2-fight skid. You need to catch a W because people are getting cut left and right. So Dustin Jacoby, Dana White Contender Series guy. He's only 2-0 in the UFC, so he's relatively new. this is kind of a tough one for me. I don't know much about the Dana White Contender Series like seasons. I know you've kind of watched those more than I have, so you might know Dustin Jacoby more than I do, but I can't really recall watching him fight. So I got to ride with Cutelaba in this one, and I'll go with the kill shot, TKO.
Yeah, so Dustin Jacoby, I'm not sold on him. So he was in the UFC once, got cut, went on the Contender Series, comes back. His first fight was against Justin Ledet, and Ledet sucks, and he pieced him up, but Ledet again sucks. Let me repeat that. Justin Ledet is terrible, and Dustin Jacoby beat him by leg kicks. And then he goes up against Maxime Grishin, who is a wrestler, and at the halfway through that fight, almost beat the shit out of Dustin Jacoby, he's a wrestler. We saw Kutelaba's chin get completely knocked off when he got knocked out by Ankalaev, but that doesn't happen too often. I don't see Dustin Jacoby winning this fight. He looked really tough, or he looked really bad, I think, against Maxime Grishin, in my opinion. I like Cutelaba here. I'm surprised the odds aren't a little bit heavier, to be honest with you. I think minus 130 is a good value for a parlay piece, in my opinion, because I think Cutelaba I think he's going to knock out Dustin Jacoby as well. I'm going the Incredible Hawk, Iwan Cutelaba by KO over Dustin Jacoby. And the other thing is Dustin Jacoby hasn't really fought anyone. Kutelaba's losses are against good competition. So Ankalaev twice, the one has a question mark, Glover Teixeira, Misha Serkinov, Jared Cannonier. Those are really good guys that he's lost to. His wins aren't that impressive, but I think that I don't think this is a tough fight for him. I really don't. And I could be totally wrong, but
it's one of those things like Jacoby. So he was in the UFC back in 2011, lost 2 in a row, got cut, bounced back between different promotions, which included like a weird 0-2 in Bellator. I don't know. I don't know if you buy into these types of fighters who get into the UFC early, go outside the promotion, kind of work their way back. Like we just saw it with was it Chase Sherman when he just fought Andrei Arlovsky. Like that was a guy who was with the UFC with Sherman, got cut, won 4 island fights, all first round knockouts, and then doesn't look great against Andrei Arlovsky. Like I don't know if you believe in some of those guys to actually make a comeback into the UFC. I feel like that doesn't happen too often. So I think Cutelaba is going to knock him out.
Yeah, I agree. Fireblade, thanks for that. He said he was going to donate, but we're not monetized. No, not yet, man. That's why if you have you have friends that are UFC fans or MMA fans, tell them, make them subscribe. We got to get to a certain amount of followers or subscribers before we can get monetized. But that would be, that's the goal. That's the goal. But at the end of the day, we just enjoy doing this. It's just fun. So, but hopefully in the future we can make a little extra side cash. Carrie?
Not gonna lie, I was gonna be all in on Dustin if his name was Justin Jacoby, because that just sounds so much better than Dustin Jacoby. Two first names is stupid, so I gotta go Iwan La Chupacabra Cutelaba. That's a mouthful to get out of there. Let me do that. Iwan La Chupacabra Cutelaba, TKO.
Guys, we've picked the same exact picks. The last 3 fights.
The last.
It's the first one we were a little mixed, but we have an all same way to win the fight too, which is pretty wild.
Yeah. That means that if you're listening, you pick the opposite, because whenever we all pick the same people, it never goes
scary.
All right. Good. So this is the one that might break my heart tonight. On Saturday, Cub Swanson, Giga Chikadze, and first off, fight's great. That's a great fight. Good fight for Giga Chikadze. He's a guy that still growing, making a name for. He's 32. He's in his prime. He's reaching his prime, but really good kickboxer. The big problem is he hasn't fought anyone. His biggest win, in my opinion, is Irwin Rivera, and he's in jail right now for attempted murder. So that's the biggest problem with Chikadze. His last one was very impressive, though, the head kick, ground and pound against Jamie Simmons, but Jamie Simmons is a nobody. And now he's going up against someone in Cub Swanson who has fought everyone. His last fight was against Daniel Pineda. Everyone was high on him. He lost to Jake Shields in a grappling bout, so not UFC. Not a big deal. He beat Kron Gracie, who everyone was high on Kron Gracie. Lost to Burgos, Moicano, Frankie Edgar, and Brian Ortega. Those are good ass fights. Like those are really, really good fights. And the loss to Burgos was a split decision. Wins over Lobov, Duho Choi, which was fight of the year. He's Jeremy Stevens. He's beat Dustin Poirier. He's beat Charles Oliveira. I'm just going through it. Now listen, Cub Swanson, totally different fighter. He's obviously older. But the one thing that he brings to the table that Giga doesn't have is the wrestling and the grappling. A lot of people are telling me Cub Swanson by sub is a play this weekend. So listen, I can't go against my guy. So I mean, even if I thought Giga was 1,000% gonna win, there's no way I'm taking Giga Chikadze because Cub Swanson is my guy. He's one of my guys. So I'm going Cub Swanson. People are saying ride the submission. I'm going to go Cub Swanson by submission, and let's get it. Cub Swanson by sub, but it's going to be a tough-ass fight for him. Giga is a hell of a kickboxer, so I'm just hoping that he'll be able to keep his distance and get the dub.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Like I honestly think that is a solid pick. I think Swanson is a live dog here because Giga Chikadze, he's very talented. He keeps his distance really well. He's a very versatile striker, very fundamental. Like he's a tough guy to really get near because of his style. He kind of has like that weird karate style where it's hard to kind of get inside the distance. He's also 6 feet tall. He's going to have the 4-inch size advantage. He's going to have the 4-inch reach advantage. I think all those things are really going to present a tough problem for Cub Swanson. And I really think if Cub Swanson can get the fight to the ground, that's 100% going to be his way to win this fight. I don't think he wants to stand up and trade with this dude, Giga Chikadze, because he's unbelievable. That's how he wins fights. He does go to decision a lot. Chikadze does. 4 of his last 5 UFC fights have gone to decision. 2 of those have been by split decision. So the dude is winning, but I mean, those are a couple narrow fights in there, and he still hasn't faced that big name. And Cub Swanson is that big name. He has literally been in there with everyone. You just named some of the best fighters we've ever heard about in the UFC. Absolute killers. This is his 39th fight professionally. This is his 20th fight in the UFC. Cub Swanson is an absolute G. Love this dude. I'll go with the upset just because I think it would be awesome for him to go in there, get a win. That would put him on a 3-fight win streak. We were talking about a guy who was potentially fighting for his career. He was maybe going to get cut not too long ago. So he's pulled together some wins here, and it's been really nice to see that. So this is going to be tough. I think Chikadze is a good play, but I am going to go with Cub Swanson. Give me the decision.
Oof, I don't know. Decision's a tough play, man. I mean, I guess if you could wear on him, wrestle him and wear on him,
I'm thinking,
not a bad play.
Have you guys ever heard of a show called Parks and Rec?
I've heard of it, never watched it.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Yep. One of the greatest characters ever created, Ron Swanson. Man, a few words, but always short to the point. You know, he loves his Lagavulin. He's a carpenter, made his own canoe. Great guy. So, you know, you got that part on Swanson, but you got Giga. If you go back to the Pokemon days, right, there's a move called Giga Impact, right? Deals 150 damage. So I think what's going to happen is Giga's going to come out. He's going to release that Giga Impact, knock out Cub Swanson. I'm going Giga, knockout.
I will be. I don't typically get upset when when fighters lose, but man, like I would be heartbroken because I do feel like Cub Swanson's at the point in his career where any loss could be the last fight in the UFC. I
think so,
which
is good. Like that, like drives you though. You know,
he could be on a 4-fight win streak, and if he loses, like he could be out. Just he's 37.
He's 37.
The division is stacked. Like he
probably gets paid pretty decent too. That would probably be a way to save some money if you're the UFC, which is tough. Everyone loves Cub Swanson. He is an absolute fan favorite. People love
I don't know
Cub
anyone
Swanson.
that dislikes Cub Swanson. Like he just puts on banger fights all the time. All right. It's
quick fun fact about Cub Swanson. Sorry. 7 of his 11 pro losses, he's been submitted.
That he's gonna do the submitting.
For like plus like good money too, which would be sweet.
Probably. Kurt Huber had a question. What is Jiri's potential?
We're getting into it.
This is the thing with Jiri Prochazka. He doesn't freaking fight. This is his first fight in almost a year. Like, I think that he's got crazy potential. His power is insane, but I can't take a win over Volkan Oezdemir. That's serious because Volkan Oezdemir has been on a crazy downward spiral over the last how many fights? Like,
I think that's being disrespectful to Oezdemir because he potentially beat Dom Reyes. That was a split decision that was very close. I think Oezdemir is still a legit, like he is a gatekeeper at this point because he's really not going to jump any higher than he is now. But I think Oezdemir is a really good gauge of like where you stand. Like this is my thing. Like remember Manel Kopp comes in from Ryzen, same where Prochazka was, faces Alexander Pantoja, gets the shit kicked out of him. I feel like this is similar where Prochazka came in against someone like a veteran like Oezdemir, who's kind of like a Pantoja in a way, and he knocked him the fuck out. Yeah, he passed that test.
Sorry, I'm reading.
No, it's okay. I can keep going if you want me to.
He's on a 12 fight win streak right now.
Yeah, he's insane. That was his first fight with the UFC. So prior to that, he was a champ with Ryzen. Like this dude was knocking everyone out. Like that's what he does. He's got 23 of 27 pro wins by knockout. This dude's pretty insane. Like he's had a wild life. Like he was in the Protective Service Academy when he was early on in his life, and he learned like combatives that way. And then from there, he started training Muay Thai. Won a national championship with Muay Thai, and then he transitions into Ryzen. He becomes a champion in there. He gets a title defense in there. Like this dude is a wild fighter too. Like he goes hands down. He fights with his hands down, like all body movement, all head movement, which is an extremely difficult game to play when you get to the elites like Dominick Reyes. But he is like very tricky. He likes to mess with you, kind of throw his hands up in the air as like a misdirection type of thing. He has the size. He's 6'3", got the 80-inch reach advantage, so he'll have 3 inches on Reyes with the reach. So I think he actually will pose a ton of problems for a lot of these guys, like in the top 5. Like I think he is legit. I think he will make a run. I don't know how far he'll go because if he plays those weird games where he has his hands down, he got caught by Oezdemir a few times. Dominick Reyes is a guy that can take him out. Jan Blachowicz is a guy that can take him out. So I think the sky is the limit for this dude, but he needs to smarten up for sure.
Yeah, I don't like the way that he fights. The hands down, it doesn't play. It doesn't play when you start getting to the top tier guys. You look at who Dom Reyes has fought. I mean, all right, so he had Jeremy Kimball, okay, was like one of his earlier fights at 7-0. And then after that, it's Jared Cannonier, OSP, Volkan Oezdemir, Chris Weidman. And then right from Chris Weidman, okay, which that's saying, like, that's crazy. That's just telling you the state of the light heavyweight division, by the way. Beats Chris Weidman, who is not even a light heavyweight, and then he fights John Jones in a fight that he arguably won that fight, then loses to Jan Blachowicz, got worked in that fight, wasn't even close. But now fighting Jiri Prochazka. The one thing that does scare me, Dom Reyes, he's looking a little weird. I don't know. There's saw some stuff on Twitter. He's looking a little odd. Jiri's haircut also looks freaking weird. I don't know what's going on there either. But that aside, I like Jiri's. This is the thing I like about Jiri. He's exciting. Like I hate Michel Pereira, but the way he fights is just insane. Like the guy does backflips off the cage and shit. Pretty crazy. Like Jiri kind of gives me that vibe. He's only 28. He's young. He's got a lot of power. You look at Oezdemir's record. It's insane who he's beaten and who he's lost to. And Jiri flatlined him. So this is a tough fight to choose. This is really, really tough. I like Dom Reyes at plus 120.
Fuck yeah, dude.
At plus money, I think that's a good bet. You could parlay Cub Swanson Dom Reyes together.
Bro, Reyes' last 2 fights are for the belt.
Yeah, but you look at it's just the mileage on Jiri's crazy. At 28, he's got 31 fights. This will be 32. Dom Reyes only 12, only 14 fights, but his 2 losses are to tough guys. Both champs. Oh man, I don't know. I'm having a hard time making a pick here. I'm gonna go because Dom Reyes got pieced up pretty good by Blachowicz. I think Jiri. I don't know if it'll happen quick, but I can kind of see Jiri just throwing jabs out there and just kind of wearing on Dom Reyes. Dom Reyes' gas tank's kind of been an issue as well, especially in the Jan fight. He got tired out very quick. So I'm gonna go Jiri by TKO. I think this fight ends in a TKO one way or the other. And I think that Dom Reyes, I think Jiri's going to throw some jabs. He's going to wear on him and just throughout the fight and eventually knock Reyes down and get the TKO. He's also got a 3-inch reach advantage, which for a striker, super important. He lands almost over 5 significant strikes per minute, almost 6 to Reyes' 4. And the fight's going to stay standing. Reyes he's wrestled a couple times, but it's not going to go to the ground. So, but this is just a shot in the dark here. If I'm betting money on Dom Reyes at plus money, but I'm going to go with Jiri by TKO.
Yeah. So my thing here is I think the smart pick is to take Reyes, getting plus money. I think the fun pick is obviously taking Prochazka, getting the TKO on that one. But it's really a matter of, do you believe in the hype of Jiri Prochazka? Obviously had a ton of hype coming into the UFC with Ryzen and in his past. He's just literally knocking everyone out. It's pretty insane what he's been able to do. But dude, Dominick Reyes, Jared Cannonier, OSP, Ozdemir, Weidman, he has the names on his record. He fought for the belt. He fought really well against John Jones. Now, I do think the 5 rounds kind of plays into his favor, though, because Jiri Prochazka doesn't get out of the first round. That's his thing. All of his fights end in round 1, maybe round 2, but most of them in round 1. So we've never seen him go the distance. We don't know. And he throws a ton of output. He goes balls to the wall, early on. So I think if Reyes can somehow avoid that for the first 2 rounds, and if Reyes has really learned from the John Jones fight, then I think he's going to win this one. It's just, I just don't know what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen. This is an absolute toss-up. It's a hilarious fight. I love it.
Perfect fight for Jiri. If he wins this fight, it could be the quickest rise to a light heavyweight, title ever.
You're right, because if whoever wins this is going to fight Rakic, whoever wins that is going to get the next shot at the belt. That's going to happen. So, and he has a very realistic chance of beating Reyes. I really believe that. But minus 150, I don't know, man. I'm going to go with Reyes. I'm going to do it. I'll go with Reyes, and I think you're right. Someone's going down, so let's go Reyes by TKO.
So last week with my picks, I brought Apple into the conversation. This week I'm going to do it again. Prochazka's check, right? So you got Siri with the iPhone. If you're anything like me, all you do is talk shit to Siri, and when you ask her a question, she's not real helpful, and she doesn't get the job done. And actually, Jiri in check means Siri. So I don't think he's going to be able to get the job done, just like the American Siri. So I'm going Reyes TKO.
And there you have it. Man, it's going to be a good card, but it's still going to almost be underwhelming because of what happened on Saturday. It's just, it's always, I always say, I feel like there should be a week off after a crazy pay-per-view, because it's we could have done a whole show just talking about that again, a second recap show. But here we are already forgetting about 261 and moving on to another UFC fight night. And it's going to be weird because it's at the Apex and there's no fans. There's going to be no fans again.
Oh, so really?
I'm pretty sure there's no fans. So it's literally going to go from having fans to this electric atmosphere to the Apex with no one in it.
Oh, what a buzzkill. That's terrible. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. For some reason, I was like, we have fans back for the rest of the year, but it's literally only Jacksonville, Dallas, and they fight in the Apex 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah, that's gonna suck. It's gonna be very odd. So I mean, a little bit of a buzzkill there, but should still be a good night of fights, and we're looking forward to it as always. And those of you that are listening that are new, Fireblade, I know you're new. Kurt Huber, I don't know if you're new, but Saturdays right after the event. So I don't know how late you guys like to stay up, but right after the event, no matter what time, we actually recap it live on our channel right here. So make sure if you like what you heard and you enjoyed it, make sure you tell your friends, all right, so that we can grow. But also Saturday night, Steve is not with us, but we have our own recap crew. We will be here recapping the show. It's always fun. We always have good laughs, partially because we're exhausted, but at the same time because just crazy stuff happened. So make sure you check that out. And that goes for anyone that's listening currently. We're on all podcasting platforms. You can check us out at the MMA Stooges. This is the Coffee and KOs podcast. So just look for the Coffee and KOs episodes and click on those. But click on the other ones as well. We also welcome Norton MMA. He has his first official video out right now on podcast platform and YouTube. covering, doing the UK insight, which is awesome to have. His takes and videos are always great, so make sure you check that out. Subscribe to the channel, give us likes, go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review, leave us some comments. Listen, we love comments. We love when people chat in the chat. And again, Saturday nights live here. You don't want to miss it. Also, Wednesdays, typically, not every Wednesday, but most Wednesdays, we are live, or not live, but we have interviews dropping. So make sure you check those out as well. Thursdays, Aaron the Dog. Wednesdays and Thursdays, Aaron the Dog is here doing betting breakdowns for those of you that like to win money. And also, last thing, sheath underwear. Summer's coming. Boys, our balls get sticky. It gets hot out there. They start sticking to our legs. Then we start chafing, and it sucks. Sheath underwear totally solves that issue. All right. It has a nice little pouch for your nut sack. Goes right in there. You don't have to worry about anything touching your legs. You don't got to worry about nothing. No chafing. It's gone completely. The fabric is the most comfortable underwear in the world. And the best part, we can get you 20% off your entire purchase. All you got to do is go to sheathunderwear.com and use our promo code COFFEENKOs, not coffee and coffee N, the letter N, KOs. Type that in, get 20% off your entire purchase. And I promise you, you will not want to go back to regular underwear. Your life is going to be changed forever. So don't forget to sheath your dagger and go to sheathunderwear.com and use promo code COFFEENKOs. We appreciate all the support, all the listeners, all the chatting. Make sure you guys stay safe, and we will see you all next time.